Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joe Pisapia, and it's time for another mock draft. That's right, we are flexing our muscles, getting in training for the 2025 Fantasy Football season. And to help us today, Andrew Erickson, the Undertaker, DBro, Derrick, Brown, the King of Bros, and my favorite man in the world, Scott Bogman, the three best friends that anybody could have. We're here to get ready, to get our pump on, mock draft style. That's right, it's PPR. That's what we're doing today. And the only place to go to the gym to flex those muscles, to get in training, is, of course, Draft Wizard. So if you haven't already, download the app. What the hell are you waiting for? If you're looking for the ultimate cheat code to make sure that you're dominating all of your leagues, well, the best way to do it is to mock draft every single day, multiple times a day, and don't skip leg day. That's what Erickson told me. Never skip the leg day. That's the one thing. And, of course, that's available for you right now wherever you want to get your apps. Download that bad boy and sync your leagues for free with my playbook as well. But today you'll see we'll be using the mock draft lobby over at fantasypros.com/draftwizard. So you can invite other friends to mock with you, or you can just enter mock drafts as well. Again, sync your leagues for free and go to fantasypros.com/mock. Gentlemen, we're going to have a good time today. We have got spread out here throughout the draft. We have, I'm at the 6th spot. I'm going to go try to host and draft from the middle, which is going to be difficult. Andrew's at the 9, DBro's at the 12, and number 1, Scott Bogman, you're at the very top. How does that feel, my friend?
I mean, I was the last one to pick, and you jerks all clumped together at the back end. So I was like, let me just get as far away from these clowns as I can. I think that's the best strategy for
Clumped together. It's not like we're 8, 9, 10. I don't understand what you're talking about.
Clowns.
6, 9, 12. Give me 5 spots away from these guys.
All right. Boy, oh boy. DBro, I think those are fighting words. What do you think? Oh, he's cracking the knuckle.
I'm ready.
I hope you can hear that on the audio version of the show.
Ready.
Andrew Erickson, speaking of leg day, what are you squatting these days? Just out of curiosity.
You can't spell legendary without leg day.
Oh, Lord.
Shadur Sanders.
I immediately
He defers.
regret
He defers.
asking
He doesn't
this
want to
question.
answer.
That was, yeah, I mean, if I let you talk the rest of the show, it'll be a miracle. I can tell you after that. All right. Again, today we have 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wides, a tight end, and we've also got a flex spot, 6 benches. That's how we're rolling today. So again, full PPR style. So we'll see what the different strategies we're going to enact. But the one strategy you should absolutely enact before, as Bogman is on the precipice of making his first selection here, is to make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube feed, and drop your comments below, because we are giving away a James Cook Bills jersey. That's right. We are giving that away to you from pristineauction.com. All you have to do is subscribe to Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. Drop your comments. Again, like this video. That certainly will help your chances, and we'll be announcing the winner right here on the channel. So turn on those notifications so you know every time a new video is up, you never miss a piece of content, and a James Cook Bills jersey can be yours. All right, Boggs, the whole draft is yours, and you selected whom?
Jamar Chase. I mean, I don't love taking a Bengal there as a Steelers fan, but you have to. He's paired with one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Joe Burrow. They still have no defense. He's coming off his best season. It's Jamar Chase, number 1 with a bullet here.
Okay, so Jamar Chase off the board. The rest of the draft continues on. Bijan, CD Lamb, Malik Neighbors, Justin Jefferson. It's the 2nd draft in a row where Jefferson almost made it to like the 5th and 6th spot.
Interesting.
Very interesting. I took Jahmyr Gibbs at 106. Puka Nacua goes at 107. Saquon Barkley at 108. And then Mr. Leg Day, you took somebody who I don't think skips leg day very regularly. It's Christian McCaffrey. The question is, can those legs hold up? PPR, you
can't do leg day.
You passed on Amon-Ra, on Brian Thomas to take the running back. Erickson, walk us through here.
Well, a lot of it has to do with I like the running backs more that I can get at this pick than the receivers. I like the receivers more I can get in round 2. So when I come back to my pick here at the 204, I'm looking at the receivers here still available on the board, and I like a lot of these guys still. A.J. Brown, Matt McConkey, so some other guys in the back end of that top 12 that I still feel really good about. Maybe they don't have wide receiver 1 overall finishes in their range of outcomes, but again, Drake London I think would also fall here in most drafts that DBro's not in, so that's something else to kind of consider as well. So I just like the combo of running back first and then receiver in round 2 versus the other way around. So for me, I can double tap Christian McCaffrey and then go with a guy like A.J. Brown in round 2.
And you have a clever team name today, I believe, too. What's your team name that you're going with today?
This is courtesy of the Fantasy Pros team name generator, and I think I pulled McCaff. So also staying on brand with Christian McCaffrey. That's my first round pick.
That was out there since you drafted McCaffrey. Team 10 selects Amon-Ra, and then Brian Thomas Jr., Dart Vader, a.k.a. Derrick Brown, at the end of his rounds here. At 112 and 201, you went double tap at wide receiver. Let's talk about him.
Well, first of all, shout out to Andrew Erickson for the Star Wars name article yearly. Pulled my name directly from there. And second of all, man, we're starting in this league with 3 wide receivers. I love the back end of the first round why I picked the turn, because there's just a litany of players there that have very close to first round profiles where we could see top 5 upside. So going 2 wide receivers here, I mean, Nico Collins and Drake London both definitively have that upside in them to be top 5 wide receivers. So where we're starting 3 wide receivers, going 2 right here, I like a lot of the running backs I can get action with rounds 3 to 5. So I'm just waiting on the position.
I didn't need a name generator. I just came up with a clever one on myself. Mine is Kenny Pickett. Yes, he can, which is a little throwback to the old school days, a little bit of old school hip hop for the fans out there. Let's go with Josh Jacobs at 202, Ashton Genty at 203, and then you said it, Andrew. You like the wide receivers. AJ Brown was a guy you got at 204.
Yeah, so I like his upside in these Eagles passing game. I think it's going to be a little bit more reliant on the pass in 2025 than in 2024, where they were able to really establish a run with Saquon, play with leads. I think they throw the ball a little bit more, and I think that benefits A.J. Brown, who is the alpha in this passing attack.
Okay, there you go. Very nice situation there. Let's move on to the next couple picks. Devon Achane at 205, Brock Bowers at 206. I took Garrett Wilson at 207 there. Last time I checked, this was a guy that everybody was coveting and couldn't talk nicer about. Now it's like everyone's forgotten about him. He was still wide receiver 10 last year. He had 101 receptions, 1,104 yards. I know Justin Fields is there now, but it's not like he and Justin Fields don't have a history together. So I feel very comfortable with this selection here as my number 1, and I will back it up, I'm sure, with another wide receiver in the 3rd round. Trey McBride goes at 208, Jackson Smith and Jigba at 209, Tyreek Hill at 210, Ladd McConkey at 211, and then Scott Bogman, the pick after my own heart. Derrick Henry at the end of the 2nd round. What an incredible 212 value. And then another RB, classic Bogman, Jonathan Taylor. How do you feel about Henry, Taylor, Chase so far?
I like it, but I'll say this, that where I took Derrick Henry, I did not expect him to fall back, so he's kind of like an insta-pick. But I wanted my other pick to come out of the group of Wilson, JSN, McConkey, and McBride, and all 4 of them went when it was just on you with 5 picks left. So that was a little bit of a brutal turn, but I do like getting Derrick Henry, of course, just so many touchdowns, even in a PPR league. And then JT still averaged the 5th most points per game last season at running back. So I like that double tap right there.
Yeah. I'm sure Bogman loves starting off his team with a Bengal and a Raven.
I know.
Just classic Bogman here. Bucky Irving at 3.
Next thing you know, I'm going to draft Aaron Rodgers.
Not in a 1
QB.
Still time left.
I won't do it.
Bucky Irving at 302, Chase Brown at 303, T. Higgins at 304, Lamar at 305. Then I took Terry McLaurin at 306. So I took 2 wide receiver 1s on their team. Terry McLaurin, again, everyone every year finds a reason not to like Terry McLaurin, and every year I find a reason to draft him on my team, and every year I'm happy about it. Even if there's a little bit of regression for Jaden Daniels in year 2, a little sophomore slump, I still think Terry McLaurin is far and away the man there. So I feel really good so far how this looks. Josh Allen at 307, Devontae Adams, he was the one I was going back and forth on. Instead, I took Terry McLaurin. Breece Hall goes to Andrew Erickson at 309, your number 2 running back behind McCaffrey. So let's talk about what we think 2025 looks like with this new regime in Breece Hall, Andrew.
Well, I expect that Breece Hall is going to get a decent amount of volume in an offense that expects to be pretty reliant on the run. Justin Fields leading the way. I think that's going to help Breece Hall in his efficiency. And I've kind of come around a little bit more on Breece Hall. Really, I was kind of concerned about what kind of target share he could see in an offense with Justin Fields, but as I've done more digging, I've kind of realized that Justin Fields also is kind of opt to check the ball down a decent amount. And when you look at just the weapons in the Jets passing game, Garrett Wilson's clearly the number 1, and then it's Josh Reynolds and Mason Taylor, and Alan Lazard, I think, is still on the team. So even if Justin Fields doesn't project as a quarterback that necessarily because he's mobile to throw the ball to the running back, I think that given this situation and the fact that they want to feature Breece Hall, he's playing in a contract year, I think he's really motivated this season. So I've come around more on Breece Hall and getting him in round 3 for a player that we were taking, at least I was taking inside the top 5 last year. And I think he played through injuries in the second half of last season. So I think it's a big year for Breece Hall, and we know that he's a 3-down skill set.
Rashee Rice goes to 310. Team 11 selects Kyron Williams. And then DBro, you're up for the end of the 3rd, beginning of the 4th. And you stayed on brand with your boy George Kittle and then Ken Walker to start the 4th round. Give me the lowdown here about this team build. Obviously, just the one running back here is a PPR. So what's the plan to make up ground? And what do you think about these 2 selections here you just made?
I mean, Kittle, we're drafting the tight end 1 last year as the tight end 3. I understand a lot of the reasons why, but this is why you don't have to pay up for McBride or Bowers early, because you can get George Kittle later. And as high as I am on Ricky Pearsall this year, and everybody loves Juwan Jennings, he's still a 27-year-old, 4th-year breakout. Pearsall, does he take the leap? Brandon Ayuk, what health and effectiveness do we get this year? All these roads lead back to George Kittle. And so this could be a career season for a guy that has not slowed down at all at any efficiency metric that you look at. And then Ken Walker. I can draft an RB1 in points per game last year in round 4. This is why you could start wide receiver heavy early. And Ken Walker is going to be in this Kubiak running game scheme. The offensive line can't play worse than they did last year. And Ken Walker, he coffin nailed everybody that said he couldn't catch passes last year. So getting him at this spot, I mean, I'm getting an RB1 in round 4.
Okay, can't argue with that here. All right, next up is Joe Burrow at 402, followed by Mike Evans at 403, Marvin Harrison Jr. to Andrew Erickson. So Harrison, obviously, he hasn't missed any gym days, we know, this offseason. My goodness. Marvin Harrison Jr., a guy who was going last year around the turn. This year you get him in the 4th round. That's a pretty good value, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm just betting on a player taking a leap and getting better in year 2. I think that last year it was out of control where he was going in ADP, and I think this year it's really palatable in round 4. Year 2, we see guys make the jump every single year. Year 2 is very common for wide receiver breakouts. And Marvin Harrison Jr., again, wasn't perfect his rookie year, but there's still a lot of things that you can look at and say, hey, that's a positive. You know, I believe he had 1 drop, and it was in the first game of the season against the Buffalo Bills where he was basically a non-factor. And cool stat about the Cardinals, they play 13 games indoors, most of any NFL team next year. So I think shootouts are coming. So I like Marvin Harrison Jr. to take the step in year 2.
Jaden Daniels at 405, Cortland Sutton at 406, then Alvin Kamara at 407 in a PPR. To me, I couldn't say no as my RB2. Oh, look, I think the Saints are going to be awful, but Alvin Kamara basically is that offense. So at 407, I'll take him as my second running back. Him and Jahmyr Gibbs, that's a lot of receptions at the running back position. James Cook goes next at 408. It was back and forth on him, but I went with Kamara for the PPR format. Joe Mixon, then Jalen Hurts, Xavier Worthy, and then Scott Bogman. You double-tapped wide receiver. Let's talk about DJ Moore and Devonta Smith.
Yeah, I was super happy to get 2 high-floor players here this round. It kind of made up for the turn that I missed with Wilson, Ladd, and JSN to me after I got the 2 good running backs. So adding DJ Moore, I know a lot of people are afraid of this Bears scenario and who is going to end up taking a back seat, and a lot of people think that maybe it's DJ Moore because he's a little bit older, but I just think the floor is so incredibly high. He's the one guy that I don't worry about in that offense at all. It, to me, is DJ Moore. And then Devontae Smith just has an insanely high floor. I understand that, you know, they're going to run the ball a ton, run first team, best offensive line in football, all of that. But Devontae Smith is just such a good player with such a high floor. He's not a good swing player. He doesn't usually have those crazy output weeks, but as a number 3, I think the floor is insane here with Chase, Devontae Smith, and DJ Moore. I really like it.
Next up here, we have Chuba Hubbard at 502. Incredible value there. DK Metcalf at 503. Omarion Hampton, then Tet McMillan. To me, I took Zay Flowers as my 3rd wide receiver. Then James Conner, Travis Hunter, Jalen Waddle, Andrew Erickson. You keep talking about Jalen Waddle. When last we left, Jonnu Smith was still there. The last show that we did together on a mock draft. He is no longer there. So let's talk about how that impacts Jalen Waddle's potential 2025 target share.
I just think that it makes it more likely that Jalen Waddle now becomes back to a focal point of the Dolphins' passing game. Last year, it was really focused on Achane and Jonnu Smith, especially underneath, to kind of mitigate the issues across the offensive line. And I think that they're saying, hey, we want to get back to Jalen Waddle. And with all the nonsense going around with Tyreek Hill off the field, and does he want to be there? And he's saying all the right things now, but this team paid Jalen Waddle in the long term. Like, they signed him to a contract last season. So if they're really looking for somebody to step up in this offense, it would be the 26-year-old Jalen Waddle, not the 31-year-old Tyreek Hill. And 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons to start his career. He's shown that he can win in multiple ways. He was a volume monster in year 1, efficiency monster in year 2, and he's had success with Tua dating back to their time spent at Alabama. So I like betting on good players. I think Waddle's still a good player, and if he's healthy, I think that he's going to drastically beat his ADP.
All right. After Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin goes, then Chris Olave, and then Darth Vader, Derrick Brown, decides to continue to pound the running back board. He goes with R.J. Harvey and Tony Pollard. So, DBro, clearly, I guess we've had this discussion before off air, the J.K. Dobbins signing doesn't mean anything to you, does it?
Nope, doesn't at all. There was always going to be a running back that took anywhere from 125 to 140 carries away from R.J. Harvey. So the fact that that's Dobbins and not Estime, I don't care. Harvey's still going to get the money touches, going to play in the passing game. I love his upside this year. And looking at Tony Pollard, he's undervalued, guys. I mean, a guy that was a top 24 running back last year, he's going in the RB3 range, and nothing but good things have happened around him in a situation with the offensive line. Cam Ward can elevate this offense. And the other thing about all this is I know who I'm drafting with. I don't need draft intel to tell me what guys are going to pick. And I'm looking at this team build, and I'm like, do I go wide receiver because I'm staring at George Pickens there? No. I know Scott Bogman's in here, and I know Caleb Johnson's probably not going to come back to me. So again, don't need draft intel to tell me I should have gone running back here.
But if you need draft intel, thank goodness that Draft Wizard has it. It can let you know what the players around you might be doing. Also, we'll let you know maybe the teams they're picking after you already have tight ends. So don't take a tight end here. Wait another round or two, and then you can make that selection. Those are the kind of pieces in the tools here of Draft Wizard that's separated from every other piece of draft software out there. It's the best in the business by a wide margin, so don't do mock drafts anywhere else. Do it here. And while you're at it, it is summertime. It's getting hot out there. Maybe you watch a little baseball, maybe on our MLB channel with me and the Welsh. The simplest way to get in on the action with us is to download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's very simple. You just pick more or less on the stat lines for 2 or more of your favorite players or your least favorite players. I don't care, whatever you want to do. And boom, just like that, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. No gimmicks, no weird rules, just ball. So nail your picks right now as the summer is heating up. And the Pick 6 from DraftKings is the most fun way to play fantasy sports. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use that promo code FANTASYPROS. That's code FANTASYPROS. New customers can get a special sign-up offer right now. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Let's continue to crown some picks here after DBro's 2 selections, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, and then the 4th wideout to the Andrew Erickson squad, Calvin Ridley. So what do you expect from Ridley this year with the young kid Cam Ward at QB?
I expect him to be a fantasy wide receiver too. I think that he's just one of the best values on the board in terms of where he goes and the outside the wide receiver 3 price range. When he had really good usage last year, he commanded really high air yard share in the Callahan offense, and Cam Ward just has to be better than Will Levis. I don't think that that's such a high bar for him to have to pass, even though he's a rookie quarterback. And then you get the untapped potential of, can he deliver a Stroud or Daniels type of rookie season where you're seeing a player like a Terry McLaurin, like a Nico Collins take a leap. I mean, Ridley, when he's been healthy, he's always been a top 30 fantasy wide receiver. So I think that in a full PPR, getting him as a wide receiver 3 flex play that I can plug in during bye weeks, I think that he's a really good value where he's going.
Very good. Next up, George Pickens at 605, Jerry Jeudy at 606. I took Jordan Addison at 607. He is my 4th wide receiver, and I feel pretty good about this. Look, I know it's a different quarterback this year. It wasn't going to be Sam Darnold this year, now with J.J. McCarthy under center, but still 63 receptions, 875 yards, 9 touchdowns. That was good enough for wide receiver 21 last year, so as my 4th wideout, yeah. And I've got a lot of belief in the kid, J.J. McCarthy. I think it might be a slow September, but by the time we hit October and the leaves start to change, I think the Vikings are going to win that division. There, I said it. Isaiah Pacheco, Aaron Jones, Travion Henderson gets past me, unfortunately. Kyler Murray at 6'11". And then, as predicted, Caleb Johnson to Scott Bogman at 6'12", 701, Ricky Pearsall. What's it like to stick the knife in the front and the back of Derrick Brown with these picks, Bogs?
I mean, it feels outstanding. I'll tell you that much. But I mean, look, DBro has made this comment, and I'll just make it for him, that Najee Harris had over 300 touches for the Steelers last season. So, yeah, they may not all go to Caleb Johnson. Maybe Kenneth Gainwell gets some of them, but the majority of them are going to go to Caleb. They spent a high pick on him. I think that's a good pick this late. And then Ricky Pearsall, that's my fourth wide receiver, so that is my complete upside play. So, like taking a lot of upside because, like I said before, I've got a ton of floor at wide receiver already.
Yeah, upside floor, the balance of that is what makes for special fantasy teams. TJ Hawkinson at 702, Jawan Jennings 703, Patrick Mahomes at 704, Roma Dunze. Then I took Baker Mayfield, who, yeah, he was the QB4 last year, threw 40 touchdowns. I feel like nobody cares. Nobody cares. The renaissance of Baker Mayfield has been a slow burn. But the last 2 years in Tampa, my God, has it been great. And I think the team around him is so good. I still think they're the class of that division. I love Baker Mayfield in this spot here, and I know without the draft intel that rather than fight over Justin Fields in the next round or so, I might as well just take Baker Mayfield with the value here. DeAndre Swift at 707, then Team 8 goes Khalil Shakir. Oh, look, Justin Fields goes. What a shock to Andrew Erickson. Didn't see that coming.
I love you and hate you, Erickson.
I knew that he was going to be flying off the board with the amount of quarterbacks that needed. Actually asked Coach AI. I was like, hey, what do you think about position here? Or should I go for one of the ones? He's like, hey, you better draft a quarterback because DBro is breathing down your neck to draft Justin Fields. Make sure you take him now because
top of my queue.
You're not going to be able to take him later. And immediately once I clicked the button, I looked down at DBro's face and he looked disappointed, which means I made the right selection.
Yes. Can we get that as emoji, disappointed DBro face on Draft Wizard? I'd like to see that. I'd definitely like to see that. So after Justin Fields goes, Dak Prescott. It's a little QB run here. Mahomes, Fields, Dak. A lot of value in the 7th round, and I took Baker Mayfield as well. So 4 QBs that round. Then you have Michael Pittman go. So how did you pivot here, DBro? Looks like wide receiver was the plan.
Yeah, filling out the wide receiver room. I plan to take at least one wide receiver here, but with getting sniped by Erickson, I double tap wide receiver, so filling out the room in a PPR setting. Jacoby Myers is going to get a ton of volume again this year, and Josh Downs, man, all we need is just competent quarterback play. When he got it from Joe Flacco last year, the guy was a top 24 wide receiver, so just banking on somebody in that quarterback room delivering good short area targets, or at least catchable ones this year.
Okay, after Downs, you Quinshon Judkins, David Montgomery, Travis Etienne to you, Andrew Erickson. So Etienne, your third RB. It's a PPR, so I understand the thought process here on the pick. But let's be honest here. It was a very disappointing season. Why can this year be different for Travis Etienne with the Jags?
If he's not injured, because I think that he played basically almost the entire season injured after week 5 when he hurt his shoulder and he was still playing and he was obviously really inefficient. I think it's a brand new offense. Liam Cohen doesn't have an allegiance to any particular running back. I think he's still trying to figure out which running back he wants to feature. It doesn't mean I can't draft Bashal Tutin as well on this team. Again, he's a bench player for me. I want to see how this Jaguars backfield shakes out because I know that we could see a really productive player come from it like we saw last year with Tampa Bay with Bucky Irving. So it's more about the price, really, with Etienne. Again, if he was more expensive, I probably wouldn't be as interested. But he's a bench player, and if I realize after week 1, okay, he's a backup. He doesn't have a role. I can just cut him and move on, pick somebody else off the waivers. So that's kind of why I gravitated towards him in this round.
Travis Etienne at 804, then Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. I took Stephon Diggs at 807. That was my 5th wide receiver, so I like the upside that Bogman was talking about earlier. David Njoku at 808, Cooper Kupp, then Najee Harris, Jaden Reed. Then we have Bogman going tight end. I was a little surprised. Travis Kelce, and then Brian Robinson Jr. So Brian Robinson, clear floor pick. I get that. Travis Kelce at this stage in his career, Boggs. Why Kelce over, say, Andrews, Kraft, or even Evan Ingram?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that Travis Kelce had a really bad year. I think this is the season he knows this is it. Empty out the full tank. And look, if he's not that good, it's fine. I waited long enough to take a tight end. There's still good ones that are out there. Like you said, Evan Ingram's still on the board. I think he just went. But like Jonnu, Tyler Warren, Hunter Henry, one of these guys is going to be a free agent. So I'm not too worried about if Travis Kelce doesn't work out. But if he does work out, I could be getting a value here. So like where I got him.
Fair enough. Good assessment. Let's move on to the next selection here at 902. Matthew Golden, Jalen Warren, Tyrone Tracy, Javonte Williams. I took Mark Andrews at 906. Spoke about it on the last show too. To me, is my favorite tight end value this year. Touchdown machine, 10 touchdowns in the last basically 10 games for him last season. Zach Charbonnet, Darnell Mooney, Tucker Kraft, another tight end. So it's the tight end time here. Erickson, why Kraft over Evan Ingram?
Yeah, this one I've been debating for a while. I was really high on Evan Ingram, but then I was thinking about the last time that me and DBro were really high on a particular tight end. Darren Waller.
You mean rap star Darren Waller? You mean Miami Dolphin Darren Waller? That Darren Waller?
Still got those singles on repeat, baby.
Talking about the Giants Darren Waller. I think it's close between the two, and honestly, I was kind of going back and forth, but just more research I've done with Tucker Kraft, and I think that he could emerge as the number one target on this Packers offense. I'm really bullish on Jordan Love bouncing back after the injury, and I just look at Kraft. He's just a really good football player. You look at last year in terms of yards after the catch per reception, he was number one among all tight ends. Number two in terms of explosive receiving rate behind only George Kittle. I think that he could be the next George Kittle, to be totally honest. Like, that's where I could see him emerging in this offense. LaFleur's even talked about him playing a Kelsey or Kittle type role in this Packers offense, that this team doesn't want a wide receiver one. What if that means they want a tight end one? So Tucker Kraft, I think, is going to continue to ascend, and I think, especially in half PPR, I think it's a pretty clear-cut choice over Evan Ingram, but in full PPR, Ingram's catching a bunch of dump-off passes. I do think it's really close.
Well, I could sense in your voice there was a lot of, pain still from the Darren Waller experience. So let me offer to you instead some words of wisdom from Darren Waller himself in a classic called Who Knew, quote-unquote, Her Perspective. In life, it's time to heal. It's hard to love. It's hard to be free. It's hard to give all your soul, then have your heart broken in return. But it's time. Take your time to heal. Just take your time out of here.
Did this just turn into a different show?
No, this is the same show. Still
sounds like he's reading off a Hallmark card.
I know.
This is Darren Waller's. These are his words. Now I can't read the rest of it because it gets a little dirty here. That's on the Fantasy Pros After Dark version. DBro, did that little sonnet make you feel better about the Darren Waller stuff in the past? Are you ready to move on now because of that? To help you?
I feel like I finally got closure. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. It's all about the journey here. It
is.
It's about the draft. It's not about the team. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's about the journey, not the destination. Let's talk about the rest of these selections here. Because after Tucker Kraft, Cam Scatterbo goes, J.K. Dobbins goes, and then Darth Vader himself selects Bo Nix at QB and Jordan Mason. So you didn't get the QB you wanted. You ended up with Bo Nix. So let's talk about the pivot point from Justin Fields. Why was it Nix? And I think we all know the Jordan Mason love and understand it well.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Mason, I think he's going to be the goal line back, and it's upside if Aaron Jones gets hurt. With Nix, I mean, dude, weeks 5 through 18, QB 6 in fantasy points per game. Situation has done nothing but improve around him. And, yes, what a difference a year makes, boys. Last year was not very high or very kind to Bo Nix on any of these shows. And this year I'm like, yeah, that's a solid pick for fantasy.
See, I knew all that Darren Waller stuff was going to help you get in touch with your emotions.
Closure.
Jordan, closure. Look, I don't think any of us expected Bo Nix to have the season he did. I think the season he started with in September was what we thought was going to happen. And then, to his credit and Sean Payton's credit, he got on track. So it is a very different 2025 outlook for him and the Broncos. Tajee Spears goes, then Tank Bigsby. Keon Coleman up next for Andrew Erickson at 10:04. Erickson, real quick, let's talk about Keon Coleman here in year 2.
That's a great pick, Erickson. I definitely don't hate you for it.
Yeah, I got the Bogman stamp of approval with Keon Coleman. I just think, again, betting on second-year wide receivers taking the leap. What does Keon Coleman have to do? Stay healthy, number one. I think that we were actually seeing him start to break out during his rookie season before he injured his wrist, and the coaching staff has talked about he was never really the same when he came back, but the opportunity's there for him. He should be a starter on the perimeter attached to Josh Allen as his quarterback. And it's really Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, Elijah Moore, Joshua Palmer. Are these guys so elite talents that they're going to prevent Keon Coleman from breaking out? If Keon Coleman's not good, then yeah, he won't break out. But I think at this time, I want to see week 1, what does he do? And if he goes out there, doesn't do anything, then I can cut him and move on. But if he ends up having a larger role, if he is Josh Allen's go-to guy in the red zone, I could see him really drastically beating his ADP. So just betting on archetypes here with a year 2 player attached to a good quarterback.
Nice vocab, too. Archetype. Well done. Adam Thielen, Bashal Tootin, Ramondre Stevenson to me at 10:07, then Austin Eckler, Evan Ingram at 10:09, Christian Kirk at 10:10, Rashad White at 10:11. Bogman, you had 2 selections here. You went Emeka Egbuka and Jaden Blue. So Blue certainly could find his pathway there for carries in Dallas. Egbuka, would it take an injury for him, or do you think that Egbuka is going to push regardless because of the talent early on in Tampa?
No, Emeka Egbuka is the second best wide receiver in Tampa Bay right now. I think he's better than an injured Chris Godwin. I think he's definitely better than Jalen McMillan, way better than Jalen McMillan. So it's just, an aging veteran, and Mike Evans is still an absolute stud, but I think he's number 2. This is a high passing offense. They said even though there's changes at OC, they're not going to change a lot of the system. So I expect this to still be pass heavy, Baker Mayfield heavy, and I think Emeka Egbuka is going to play a big role here. So I know he goes into a crowded room, but the talent is already top tier for Egbuka.
Luther Burden at 11:02, Jonnu Smith, Jalen Wright, Rashid Shaheed. I took Ray Davis, so just trying to build some running back depth there. I like Davis's upside there if something should happen to Cook. Roshan Johnson, 11:07, and Jake Ferguson. Andrew, you took Braylon Allen, so is this just a simple handcuff here, or do you think they're more of a timeshare in the Jets scenario with this selection?
I think it could be both scenarios. Again, drafting Breece Hall in round 3, I'm betting on it really being him as the featured guy, but they've talked about maybe mixing in Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis a little bit more than Breece Hall managers would probably like. So I want to wait and see around in week 1, see what happens. And if it is the Breece Hall show, then I know, okay, Allen's just a handcuff. That's all he is. But if he does have a larger role in the offense, well, then I have him on my team as well. Maybe he can offer some standalone upside or value outside of a Breece Hall injury. So that's kind of the thought process there.
Rico Dowdle at 11:10, then Dalton Kincaid. And look, another QB. So some matchups, a little upside here. So maybe you don't believe in Bo Nix as much as you said you did, Derrick Brown, because you took J.J. McCarthy and then Trey Harris right out of my queue. Good job on there. So let's talk about these 2 selections of McCarthy and Harris.
I mean, J.J. McCarthy at this point is just free upside, man. I think he's a QB1 this season, and if Bo Nix doesn't have that top 5, top 6 upside, I'm taking another swing at quarterback in a fantastic situation. Like, how many times do we have to see in a KOC system that these guys are locked in QB1s over numerous quarterbacks, and a lot of them with a lot less talent than J.J. McCarthy? And then, yeah, Trey Harris, this is all just filling out the bench with upside. Considering I have a pretty balanced build for my team with the running backs and wide receiver rooms, Trey Harris, baby, all day.
Interesting, though, and I understand the upside of McCarthy. You make a great move for it. But when you see the QB talent still on the board, Brock Purdy, who's had some really good seasons, obviously. Justin Herbert, who's not that far removed from some massive fantasy seasons. Jordan Love, 1 year removed from a QB1 season. And C.J. Stroud, who was everybody's darling. So it would seem theoretically those players would all offer more floor than J.J. McCarthy. But in your terms, looking at quarterback for you, it's just all upside.
Yeah, it's all upside. I mean, when you get to this point in the draft, I could piecemeal streaming weekly on a weekly basis. Like if I wanted to go Stafford or Stroud or wait until the final 2 picks of the draft. But for me, this is strategic upside picks where it's like if Bo Nix with the rushing upside, he was QB6 last year. Can he take another step with more weapons around him this year? J.J. McCarthy airdropped into a system where Sammy Darnold, yes, that's Sam Darnold, produces the QB8 in fantasy points per game last year in weeks 1 through 17. If J.J. McCarthy hits the ground running, either one of these guys could be a top 5 option at quarterback, and I got them for pennies.
All right, interesting stuff there. Tyler Warren at 12:02, Wandale at 12:03. That's a nice late PPR selection. Trey Benson for Andrew Erickson. So Erickson year 2 here for Trey Benson. Year 1 was pretty quiet. Do you expect more noise from Benson in 2025?
I would hope so, based on the fact that I took him. I think that with James Conner, he's probably going to be the RB1 until he gets banged up. I mean, last year he stayed as healthy as he's really been since joining the Arizona Cardinals, so wouldn't bet on that happening 2 years in a row. And I think Trey Benson, I really liked him a lot as a prospect. We see year 2 guys, even after down rookie seasons for running backs, like Tank Bigsby is an example. Like he was an absolute zero his rookie year, and then he came back year 2 and really had a big season. So Trey Benson, I think that if he gets the opportunity, I think that he can take advantage of it. Cardinals offense now stacking Cardinals, chasing those indoor games, those shootouts.
Yeah, stacking Cardinals. What could go wrong in that ecosystem for your fantasy team? Isaac
baby.
Guerrero. Shootouts. Yeah, maybe take yourself out behind the barn and shoot yourself. Maybe after a couple of weeks. Isaac Guerrero at 12:05. Christian Watson at 12:06. I took Cedric Tillman, my boy, at 12:07. Let's go, Joe Flacco. Let's do it. Please no more. Please no Kenny Pickett, please. Tyler Algier at 12:08. Dallas Goedert at 12:09. Jerome Ford, Nick Chubb. And then Scott Bogman, you went ahead and took your QB, Caleb Williams and Jaden Higgins. I love these two picks here. Some tremendous value. Big upside for Williams with the new head coach. And obviously Jaden Higgins. Look, all he's got to do is just somehow find a way to be better than Christian Kirk. And I don't think that's going to be too hard.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's like, hey, I don't know if I like Jaden Higgins because he's a lot of what Nico Collins is. I'm like, you don't like two Nico Collins? I mean, he's pretty good.
Or is it Collins I always
Collins is how I say it.
Okay.
I think that's the correct pronunciation. Is Collins is. So, but yeah, Jaden Higgins is a great option. I think he's already the second best target that they have in Houston. Maybe third behind Mixon. Like, obviously, Nico Collins is your number one there. I don't think Tank Dell plays at all. I think Christian Kirk is washed. Jalen Noel could be a nice option here as well, and he's a better fit probably than Jaden Higgins, but Higgins is a very good wide receiver, and he should not take long to get on the field and have a substantial role.
Absolutely love this pick. Can't say enough good about it. All right, next up here, Jalen McMillan, Colson Loveland, Keenan Allen. Still teamless, Keenan Allen. Bogman, where does Keenan Allen end up? I assume he's back in the NFL here in August, right?
Now, hopefully Pittsburgh. So, no idea. So,
yeah, that would be actually not a terrible
Come on, we need
spot.
more slot options. It's Calvin Ridley. It's Roman Wilson. It's Jonnu Smith. It's Pat Freiermuth. Let's throw Keenan Allen in there. Come
Falcons,
on. And then
Falcons.
run the ball
Calvin
1,000
Austin,
times.
not Calvin Ridley. You wish it was Calvin Ridley, by the way.
I do wish it was Calvin
I
Ridley.
think that
It
was a
is
little
still
Freudian
Calvin
slip
Austin.
there from Scott
Yeah, it
Bogman.
was.
Marquise Brown, and then I took Rashad Bateman at 13:08. Again, just building out that wide receiver room. You can never have too many of them, and I want to play a wide receiver flex in my PPR leagues. Kareem Hunt at 13:07. Blake Corum, Drake May. There we go. So you got Fields, you got May. How do you feel about this QB room, Erickson?
All the rushing upside you could ask for.
Yeah, baby.
That's what I'm chasing here.
Let's go.
I love it. Jared
nice.
Goff goes next. Josh Palmer. And then Deontay Johnson, the newest Cleveland Brown.
Ugh.
And then Brashard Smith here with Debro's last two picks. All right, Debro,
I like the Deontay Johnson pick. Don't
Look, the pick is
Debro.
fine, but Deontay Johnson, I will scoff at every time I see his name.
Well, we could separate real life from fantasy
Can you
upside here. I think.
can you separate a guy who was on 3 teams in 1 year and say that somehow investment-wise that's still a good investment?
And no wonder why he's talking about Kenny Pickett. He punched Mitch Trubisky in the face for Kenny Pickett.
Isn't Kenny Pickett potentially the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and doesn't he have chemistry with Deontay Johnson?
Does he?
Does he have
Is that what
chemistry
we-
with him?
is
He
that what
doesn't
we're
have
calling it?
chemistry
We're
with
calling
his
it
own
chemistry?
hands.
He's got more chemistry than Jerry Jeudy does.
He doesn't have chemistry with his own hands.
Well, you don't know that. You don't know what he does when the lights go
Outside of
out.
all of the locker room stuff, and
I bet he fumbles it, whatever it is.
Can we still talk about Deontay Johnson? Target per route run, yards per route run would have led Cleveland last year. So everybody's just
So he's good at running?
saying that
Is
he's
that what you're
not
telling
going
me?
to factor.
Yeah, listen, as far as a player goes, I think he's still a pretty solid player.
Yeah.
You know,
But if he's such a solid player, then why do 3
Non-zero
teams
chance
not
he
want him?
leads.
because he's a dick.
Because of the
Right.
because of the
So
locker
so
room
there you
stuff and all
go.
the
So that's
I
the
get
problem
that.
with him.
But this is fantasy football we're talking about.
Yes, but in fantasy football you have to produce, which means the teams have to play you, which means they have to feel good
Okay,
about
when he was
you.
on the field last year, what did he do? He
How
produced.
dare you take him in the 13th round, Debro? How
I know.
dare you.
Wow, terrible pick, horrible pick. As
I
my
don't
wide
know.
receiver,
I did not
what,
mean
6
to
or
start
7?
this on Deontay.
You certainly,
I
yeah,
just
but you-
wanted to scoff at
You
his
did
name.
start it and
Horrible,
walk
horrible
away
pick,
from it,
yeah.
Boggs. In all fairness, you started it and then were like, I didn't do anything there. I had
so
no
Stir
brains.
that up. And then
Bogman, I
walk
got a
away.
question for you. So before last year, who do you think was a better receiver, Deontay Johnson or Jerry Jeudy?
Deontay.
You're gonna say Deontay.
What about you,
Yeah,
Joe?
The right answer
Who was
is
better,
Deontay.
Deontay Johnson or Jerry Jeudy? Better
Oh,
receiver.
God.
Come on, you know it's Deontay. Go ahead and say
No,
it.
see, I was an OG Jerry Jeudy guy, and Boggs
Oh,
knows
here we
this.
go.
I mean,
Boggs
so was
knows
I,
Manipulation.
but the OG
I go back
became
to
the
the
most
Bama,
jaded.
I go back to the Bama Jerry Jeudy. I can't knock that out of my brain. I was, and look, you go back to watch the receipts of the shows in the last 5 years when I would talk about Jerry Jeudy and Jerry Jeudy.
Who would
this and
Steve
Jerry Jeudy.
Smith
Here we
pick?
go.
Yeah.
Well, that's a conversation for a different day. But outside of Deontay, I want to give a shout out to Brashard Smith here, who's making some noise. I think he's going to make even more noise in training camp, PPR setting. taking upside shots at the very end of this draft for a player that doesn't need an injury in the KC backfield to carve out a standalone role as the new Jerick McKinnon. So while we're derailed on Deontay here, got to give some love for Brashard Smith.
Yeah, I think that steering wheel right back on the path, DBro. Way to be, buddy.
I'm trying, man. We're off the rails, dude.
I would rather make selections that I think had more. Look, I get it. DeAndre Johnson once upon a time was good. Josh Gordon once upon a time was good, and everyone kept drafting him thinking that was going to work out.
Still good last year.
But Jack Besh is still out there. Coker's still out there. And the guy that I'm going to take with my next pick is still out there. So Marvin Mims, then Zach Ertz. Your last pick, Kyle Monangai. Boy, oh boy. Somebody's been listening to a lot of Joe Pisapia videos here.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, Kyle Monangai. Love this guy. Your guy, my guy, our guy.
Everybody's guy.
He's our guy. He's the perfect last round pick. He is perfect. I'll take Kyle Williams, who's still available on the board. Boggs, last round to you here as we recap the picks after Monangai, Marshawn Lloyd, Romeo Dobbs. I took Kyle Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, Jarquez Hunter. I wish your name was Jarquez, Boggs. Dylan Sampson and Mike Gesicki. So the last pick, Mr. Irrelevant, is who, Scott Bogman?
Let's go with DJ Giddens to handcuff my JT pick.
Yeah, all right. So I got a B+, so I'm going to pass the class. Maybe not make honor roll. Let's see how the rest of the grades for everybody works out here. Scott Bogman at the top at 909 with the number 1 pick. Of course, you're at the top. Pretty good. Team 5 is second. DBro at third. I think it was that Deontay Johnson pick that put you over the top.
Had to be.
You had one more point than I did. One more point.
Still a win, baby.
Where's Andrew Erickson? He pulled the calf. He's at 11. So there you go. So it's all right. It's all right. Sleeper alert for me. Rashad Bateman, Cedric Tillman were pretty good there. Our friend Brandon Murchison. We love Brandon. He liked my draft more than anybody else here. Let's take a look at some of the other analysis. Boggs, you are at the top. So expert opinions there for you. Who liked and hated your draft?
Jorge Edwards liked my team more than anybody else. And second, you guys will not be surprised because I do a show with him every single week. Pat Fitzmaurice, number 2. Kev Mashajan was 3. I was 4. And then Pierre Camus was 5th for me. Love my team. Everybody who loved my team, a lot of love for Derrick Henry, DJ Moore, Devontae Smith, a lot of those. A lot of haters.
Fantastic
Not
value.
number 1 on Jamar Chase. By the way, Joe Pisapia hated my guts. You hated JT, Devontae Smith, Ricky Pearsall. I don't know what your problem is, Joe.
It sounds right.
I love all those players. So
look, if I knew that Derrick Henry would make it back to me where he did, I probably would have taken Puka instead. And that would have been the change of my team. I'll be honest with you. And that's the nice thing about Draft Wizard. You could start a draft simulation and be like, I don't like the way this looks, and you can back out the picks and undo them and do it another way till you start to get the teams in the draft slot that you're going to be in that league until you get it right, because that's what it's about. And Scott Bogman, you got it right. Congratulations, you're the big winner. Let's look at the roster. Caleb Williams at QB, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor at running back, the wide receivers, Jamar Chase, DJ Moore, Devonta Smith, the tight end, Travis Kelce, then Caleb Johnson at flex, your bench, Brian Robinson Jr., Pearsall, Egbuka, Jaden Higgins, Jaden Blue, and DJ Giddens. Look, I love the wide receiver depth you have on this team. It's hard not to like it. You got my favorite running back, maybe even ever, Derrick Henry there. So, Boggs, is this a squad you'd be very happy to go to war with?
Absolutely. A little rookie heavy, which is not my favorite, but most of it's on the bench, so that's where we like our rookies.
Well, Travis Kelce's there too, so that offsets the age.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, average age, I'm probably about normal. I'm probably middle of the pack because I have Kelce. But yeah, a lot of rookies here.
And so Henry.
There is, and Henry. There is a little risk, but I really like the way this team fell for me.
All right, let's go to our friend Derek Brown, the bronze medalist in this draft. Bo Nix at QB, Ken Walker, RJ Harvey. Then you have Nico Collins, Drake London, Jacoby Myers, George Kittle, Tony Pollard, Josh Downs, J.J. McCarthy on the bench with Jordan Mason, Trey Harris, Deontay Johnson, and Brashard Smith. So, DBro, when you step back and look at this roster, obviously London and Collins, 2 terrific players. But to me, when I look at it, it doesn't have that one big impact guy unless Drake London, Nico really become that guy. Would you agree that it's not the same as having a Puka or a Amon-Ra or one of those kind of guys to start a team?
I mean, that's fair, but I feel like this is the kind of team that you build or need to build at the turn, where you're taking shots on guys that can take a step and you're projecting some, because there's a lot of guys here, they're going at the end of the first round because they haven't been top 3, top 5 options. And what have we seen out of Nico? When he's been on the field, he has that type of upside. Same thing for Drake London with improved quarterback play. And I feel like with this team, I backed it up with a lot of volume with the mid-round running backs. I got a lot of underrated PPR volume with Myers and Downs as my wide receiver 3. And for the build overall, my upside swings are George Kittle is going to be tight end 1 overall this year. Kenneth Walker is going to be an RB1. So there's a lot of projecting, but I feel like that's the kind of team that you have to build when you're close to or at the turn, where you're taking swings on guys because you think they're going to take a step forward. You've done the homework, or you know that they're not going to come back to you at the next spot in the draft.
Do you like a team at the turn that starts with, let's say, Ashton Genty, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, or what you did here with Nico, Drake London, Kittle, and Walker?
I think you can make cases for both of them. I could have easily started, if the board would have fell perfectly, I would have had no issue starting CMC and Genty. Genty was in my queue, but again, part of this is just how I see the draft board laying out. And I'm very high on these middle round running backs where a lot of people aren't, and they look at it, that's the dead zone and stuff, where I think you have plenty of upside for all these guys. So I have no problem starting running back in one of those first 2 selections, or even going running back. But the way that I'm building teams this year at the turn, I just really like the mid round running backs. And in a 3 wide receiver starting league, to be able to start with those 2 wide receivers, oh man, love it.
Andrew Erickson. Actually, you know what? Before we go to that, was there anybody that loved and hated your draft of note here? Expert opinions, things that Draft Wizard scolded you on that said you should have done this instead? Maybe things would have been better?
I loved my team the most, obviously. I gave myself a 98.
Yeah.
Love it.
Me some me.
It's beautiful. But Matt Harmon gave me an 89, so shout out to Harmon.
Tough grade, too.
Joey Wright did not like my team, and unfortunately, Scott Bogman got all the love for Jorge. I did not. I got a 65 from Jorge. So, Jorge, we're going to have words and DMs later. The one... Tell me this, guys. Would you have gone with this twofer, okay, this 2v2? David Montgomery and DeAndre Hopkins, or are you taking Downs and Brashard Smith? I'm not high on Hopkins, but per the simulator, says I would have had 61 more points if I would have gone Montgomery and Hopkins over Downs and Brashard Smith.
I struggle with Downs because I just don't know what that offense is going to be at this point. I had high hopes for the Colts last year, and they just fell woefully short. And now I just feel like at some point the Daniel Jones pivot is coming. I just have this awful feeling about it. Maybe I'll be wrong, but Andrew, where do you stand with that? Because I think that's an interesting question. It's really whether or not you're buying into the Colts.
I like the Downs Brashard Smith side, especially if those are players that are on the bench for the most part. So you're just shooting for upside, where I understand why the simulator might like, or the analyzer might like, David Montgomery, especially where he went. He went in the 8th round. That's more than baking into. I wish that I drafted David Montgomery, getting him in the 8th round, banking those points as a flex. Even that's considering, okay, the Lions take a step back. That's more than considered in that type of price tag. So, but based on your roster build, you don't need those points from David Montgomery. It's one of these things we talked about on the Best Ball show, where every roster needs different things. So in a vacuum, David Montgomery 8th round, absolute great value. But for your team, if you already have established running backs,
when I went 3 running backs and stuff like that, he doesn't really fit the bill.
It doesn't make sense for you to draft him. And you can always theorize you can trade this guy later on, but I don't really like going into drafts be like, I'm going to draft this guy so I can trade him away. That's usually you're thinking I think you're doing too much
but
big
you know what?
braining.
I think what happens is price enforcing, especially in a league where it's it's PPR, so David Montgomery, perception-wise, is a little lower. It goes, well, he doesn't catch the ball, whatever. He still gets a ton of touchdowns. He still gets yards. He's still very valuable. I think price enforcing, you get injuries, you get things that happen. It's the NFL. Price enforcing more than usual will help you out. A couple years ago, I price enforced on Josh Jacobs in that season that he went off in the Vegas Raiders. It's not a player I wanted. He fell to me. He fell way and he worked out. And you know what? It was just principle of saying he shouldn't be there. I don't like him this year. I'm going to take him. And you know what? Price enforcing, I would say 90% of the time is actually the right call for me personally from what I've seen, because the injuries that happen, the unknown factors, taking players that you know who they are in the specific team that they're playing for too. Let's get to Andrew's team here. Justin Fields at quarterback. Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall, A.J. Brown, Marvin Harrison, Jalen Waddle, Tucker Kraft, Calvin Ridley. Then you have Drake May, Travis Etienne, Keon Coleman, Trey Benson, Braylon Allen, and Kyle Monangai. I think Draft Wizard was unfair to you. I think this is far too low of a ranking, Andrew. What do you think about this squad?
No, I think that Draft Wizard was fair. I didn't even give myself an A. Andrew Erickson from Fantasy Pros gave this team a B+. So, and that's the highest rank. Actually, I'm interested. Scott Bogman, if you had to rank this team from 0 to 100, approximately, what would you give it?
Let's see.
This feels like a trap.
If I had to give it a score,
think of a letter grade first, and then convert
I would
that
give
into
it
a
like
number.
a 60.
Oh, man, he nailed it exactly right.
No. No. Wow. And this is how you know the accuracy level of Draft Wizard in terms of the back end repercussions of your draft. I mean, there you go.
I hate McCaffrey. I don't like him.
No, that's fine, but like the fact that you nailed it to the digit. Not 58, not 61, 60.
I was going to say 65.
I looked.
Oh, you looked.
I thought I was in on the bid. I thought I
with the bid. Get out of here.
You should have went with the bid. I looked.
He had to be authentic. He couldn't lie to the viewers and to the audience.
I thought it was hilarious that DBro thought I didn't look. Honestly,
I thought you just hit it, man. I was giving you props.
But look, I understand where you took McCaffrey. I do. But I don't believe a single word that comes out of the Niners camp about Christian McCaffrey ever again. And bilateral Achilles tendonitis does not sound good. It also sounds like something that's going to last for longer than this season.
Well, so, to be honest, when I made the pick for McCaffrey, just going running back in round 1, and then seeing how the board played out, so not going receiver, so I went McCaffrey, A.J. Brown. But then looking at it again, I think I might have actually liked it more if I went Nico Collins first and then Achane as my rounding back in round 2. So
I would have scored about an 82.
Yeah,
if you would have done that.
So I like just looking
and
and
he didn't look at that one.
I think that I would have liked that more. So again, these running backs and receivers that go at the end of round 1, beginning of round 2, you really got to kind of play the ADP board, whatever your site is drafted on. Because I'm trying to get guys I think that can finish number 1 at both positions, at running back and at wide receiver. And I think that I get more bets on that probably with Collins and Achane versus A.J. Brown and CMC. So if I could go back, I probably would make that change.
I really like the build on everything else, honestly. I think that the build on everything else is really good. I'm just not the biggest – like, I'm even a big Breece Hall guy. I just really don't like CMC. That is what sinks you in my grade. But everything else, I love that you took ETN. I think he's a good value. Obviously, I was upset about Keon Coleman. I think I'm even a little higher on the pack than Trey Benson. So the rest of this build I love. Just that first pick of CMC makes me.
I also don't.
I love Waddle and Ridley.
I like the receivers I drafted. I would say too. I probably would have much rather just taken David Montgomery or Quinshon Judkins instead of Fields. Like I like Fields, but seeing him go like this close
that'd have been nice.
to Mahomes and Mayfield, like part of the Fields' allure is that he goes so cheep. And I
I agree 100%. That's the allure.
So,
the allure is that, and I don't think that's going to happen anywhere outside this room. I think this is the room where you draft on people like us 4 lunatics that you're going to have to, if you want Fields, you better take him here because you ain't going to get him. And the reason I took Baker Mayfield is because he slipped so far, and I was like, I can either take Baker Mayfield here as a top 5 QB at a huge value, or I can fight with these 3 bozos over Justin Fields in the next round, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to do this instead. But you nailed it. I don't think people who are watching the show are going to have that problem. If you want Fields, chances are he's still going to be there, I think, later than he went in this draft. Andrew, you would agree?
Yes, yeah, and I think that it just feels weird taking this close to Mahomes. I get like the fantasy production is different, and I have them ranked back to back, but I still think that
I think in 1 month that's going to be where he's going. I think
at the end of 7,
he's getting a lot of helium right now. So I think you.
I mean, I think it's deserved though.
I think it is too, but I do think that
it's deserved.
I think a little bit of that appeal that Pisapia talked about with Fields is going away.
Well, I guess the thing I want to preach though with that is there has to be a stopping point, because if he gets up to where Richardson was going last year, then you got to be out. Right?
He won't get up that high just because people have been.
No, he won't, but he's going to exceed that Richardson hype by a country mile. But the point is, I think there's enough negative stigma attached to Fields now after being on, this is a third team, and the Steelers didn't want. They didn't want him last year. They wanted him at the end of the year. And the Jets aren't exactly a situation he goes into and people have a warm fuzzy feeling about because the Jets
have a great history with quarterbacks, don't they? No.
What could go wrong with the New York Jets? Where's Browning Nagel when you need him? Yeah.
And just projecting his ADP forward a little bit, looking at best ball ADP on Fantasy Pros, right now on Underdog and Drafters, he is going as QB10 and QB7. If you look at the spots of where those guys are going currently in drafts, it's somewhere around like 77, 86, though, like somewhere in the 70s to 80s. So he's going to get up there, definitely.
All right, let's talk about the Joey P roster here and see what everybody thinks of the look here. Well, Tribe Called Quest, can he pick it? Yes, he can. Baker Mayfield, Jahmyr Gibbs, Alvin Kamara, Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Jordan Addison. The bench is Stephon Diggs, Ramondre, Cedric Tillman, Rashad Bateman, Ray Davis, and Kyle Williams. I like this roster. This is the hard part, though, about drafting in the middle. I prefer to be on one of the ends here because when you're in the middle, you're constantly just getting smacked around from one side to the other side. It's really tough to gauge when those runs are going to happen. I don't like it. I know, Boggs, sometimes you actually like the middle of drafts. To me, this is that classic middle draft where it's like I try to just do the best I can, but I feel like anytime you try to plan out what you're going to do next, it basically never goes your way.
I feel like I miss less being in the middle, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You do have to wait on both sides between both picks. You don't get that double tap. So if there's a couple guys you like, you're going to get one, but probably not both.
I mean, the problem was you and I were bookending the draft, so anybody that Joey was hoping probably wasn't getting past
the fact
me or
that you guys
Bogman,
were on the turns did not make it easier. Yeah. But I always feel like every time we do these, right, how often do you see people win the draft, quote unquote, at the top, at the bottom? It's really hard to win the draft in the middle, DBro.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
I was happy finishing fourth. Like I was like, okay, I'll finish fourth there. That's
no, I mean, you're kind of beholden to the runs and we're what the bookends of the draft kind of do. And with me and Bogman, it doesn't make it easy, man.
It does not. It does not. And Andrew Erickson doesn't make it easy either. None of you guys do. That's why we're here. We're trying to make it easy for all of you by trying to flush out all of these different scenarios, the different picks, the different stuff. And of course, we're trying to get to 300,000 YouTube subscribers this year. We can help get there with all of you. So if you're enjoying the content here at Fantasy Pros, subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop your comments below, and you can win yourself a James Cook autographed jersey from pristineauction.com. So do that right now, and don't forget to ring the bell till it goes ding so you never miss a piece of content here on the channel. And of course, go run as many mock drafts as you can. Go to fantasypros.com/mock or just download Draft Wizard today. Start your mock draft journey, just like Darren Waller would want you to do. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For DBro, Andrew Erickson, and Scott Bogman, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.